the people that love Thin Lizzy will fight you to the fucking death to get across how important Thin Lizzy are to rock and roll and the fabric of rock and roll, you know? Let's slap some numbers here. Let's go.
This is episode number 256.
Oh, Heidi, what's your T-shirt say?
My Black Rose album
Oh,
T-shirt.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is that your favorite? Is that your favorite album by them?
It is one of my favorite albums by them. Yep.
I have to agree.
Good tough rock.
Yeah. The song Black Rose, goddamn, I mean, that song has got to meet Blaggards on stage one day. I love that fucking
song. The complexity of that song. Very complex.
Yes. You know what? I would have loved to have heard Gary Moore and John Sykes play that song on stage together.
Yeah.
Not just because they were the two best guitarists that ever. And nothing against Scott Gorham or Eric Bell. Those two guitar players had such different styles, yet they were so fast and so melodic and just so their solos were so beautifully crafted. Mm-hmm. You know, even at warp speed, those two guys together, I could not imagine. I said it recently too. I would have loved to have heard Gary Moore play with Stuart Copeland of the Police. I think those two, Stuart Copeland's drumming style and Gary Moore's guitar style together, I think that they could have just surpassed any. Again, it's just obviously a pipe dream, but I think Gary Moore is he's one of those players.
I was going to say, I'm not as familiar with his solo stuff as you are, because he was like really into playing the blues stuff. I think you're right that somebody like Stuart might have steered him in a more adventurous direction. Then he definitely would have got him to do things he probably wouldn't have thought of on his own, I think. 'Cause a lot of Gary's solo stuff, that's my only thing about his work, is that his solo stuff tends to be kind of like Chicago blues kind of stuff.
He's got stuff that goes far beyond that stuff. I mean, that was his.
Okay, good.
That's kind of where he started to make money. These bands, obviously the beginning of Skid Row and, moving throughout his metal career, his hard rock career. And then he kind of settled on the blues, but he began in the blues and he began in that kind of psychedelic, that early Thin Lizzy, which we'll get to today. Look at that. He always had that blues, they always, I say he, but Thin Lizzy came from the blues and that kind of psychedelic early stuff. I mean, just such a great, such a map of modern music, just such a, and so intricate intricate, such the seed of rock and roll, the bands that came from their, germination of their style just throughout history is beautiful. And then I've said it a million times, all these bands knew each other, all these bands that hung out and that did work together. You just wouldn't think of the Sex Pistols and Thin Lizzy as being, but they were all kind of in the same bar, all kind of in the, in the trenches together. And it's just,
Thin Lizzy and Journey.
And Journey.
Who would have thought?
And Huey Lewis and on and on and on. I mean, Guns N' Roses, all these bands that came after, and Metallica, all these bands that say Thin Lizzy, that's where they, there's a reason why that they're held in such high regard, I think.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, Patrick, as a kid growing up in Ireland, were they like sort of a household name when you were a kid? Do you remember a time when they weren't on the tip of your tongue?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't even in my, because I kind of started in at the Sabbath and the Maiden, so Thin Lizzy was a little too, too
mainstream, maybe.
No, just not heavy enough, and they came into it was one of those things where you kind of jump on. It was just right before Jailbreak and all, before their before all the hits came in, and then you kind of work backwards. You go, oh, wait a minute, they have to, and then even still, which we'll get to today, the early stuff, the Shades of a Blue Orphanage is where I'm beginning. When I heard that, and I was kind of, I didn't get it. I was too green, I guess, to understand what they were doing. But it was the seeds. It was the very beginning of what they were to do later on. And I have a couple of Philo's books, his poetry books, and his lyrics always were just top class. Like Shane. They never skimped on lyrics. They never put in. Although they did do, there was a lot of shalalalas, and there was a lot of the crux of their songwriting master. I mean, they always dug deep. They always went deep. Or bared their soul.
The thing I like about Philo's lyrics is that it just sounds like probably the way he talks. It's very natural language that he uses. He doesn't bend over backwards trying to sound clever or, sometimes like, this is what I mean, this is what I'm saying type of thing. Almost Lennon-esque in that way. Soul bearing stuff.
Yeah. And then just one other thing. One of the things that I stole from Phil or borrowed from Phil, and it's got me in trouble, especially with recording other people's music, is I took Phil's lack of meter singing, and it drives me crazy when I hear covers of a Thin Lizzy song and they're singing, "The boys are back in town, the boys are back," they're singing on the beat, and it kind of swings, but it drives me up the fucking wall when bands do this, this nearly square
right
renditions of these songs, and they're not. These are flowing, poetic, beautiful pieces. And so one of the things that I stole from Phil was I sing behind and above the beat. And it gets me in trouble when, like I say, when I'm recording a piece that's not my own and I'm singing out of time, but I'm doing it not as a lazy, I don't care where the beat is. And one of the things I love about this lineup too is I love the fact that we have not only a rhythm section that can stick to it, but when myself and Heidi play a line together, and you guys are holding it down, that's one of the things that just I love about this lineup is the way that we hold that groove, and that we're really concentrating now on that on how the song sits. Anyway, back to my bitching. The doing the Phil style vocal lines are so. It's one of those things I can't get out of the habit of doing it, but it's Philo was just a master of singing, just so fluid throughout the song.
Yeah,
but yet the song delivered.
Mostly like sort of very very relaxed late is one way I would describe it. He'll come in a beat or two later, and then he'll just kind of it's like being the water, like to steal a phrase from Mr. Newton here.
Points.
He really is. I mean, he just kind of. I'll come in when I'm ready, and it's still going to be groovy because the rhythm section was so it could, and he was part of the rhythm. So that's the thing about his playing is so amazing that he's doing this late, off. Not really. I wouldn't say it off time. It is off time technically, but doing this sort of free form singing with the meter, and he's keeping the pocket down with Brian Downey at the same time. That is genius. And I don't really know if there's many other bass players who do that kind of thing, let alone anybody.
Let me ask you this, Turbo and Heidi. Heidi, as a teacher, does it drive you up the wall to hear that stuff? And Turbo, as a drummer, does it throw you at all?
I don't think it throws me. I mean, playing with you for how long I've been playing, at the very beginning, it took me just a second to kind of figure. You did a lot less of it at the beginning until I was settled in. But, I don't listen to you on that section. I'm like, hey, I'm just going to hold this here and he can do what he needs to do, and that's one, when I really locked into that mindset, it now it's just easy, and so I can just kind of play. And then I know that, hey, he knows where he is and he's going to come in and out. But when you do it, it fits. Like, it doesn't sound like, it's off, not to speak for Heidi here when you're teaching, but I just remember when we were young in school, they were like, they didn't let you get off. Like we
Right.
really, especially in marching band, it was, very syncopated, so that's my two perspectives.
So Heidi, does it bother?
Yeah.
Does it?
So yeah, well, the art, at the higher level of playing music like an artist, like artistically, is that you stay in time, and I make them. But there's a difference between playing straight and staying in time. So I make them practice with a metronome. But the reason being, if you're going to play really musically, there's a way to produce your sound and your articulation artistically staying in the pocket. In other words, I keep telling them, you've got to, when I say bow speed, I'm not saying speed up the tempo. I'm saying you need to move your bow with a certain motion, a certain feeling that gives the music life. And if you're just going to sit there and play in time with this dead, boring, then don't play music. That's what I say to them. And you have to say it over and over for them to like understand, because they want to get the mechanics down. But I just keep telling them it's not music if nobody listening can feel it, and if you can't feel it. Yeah, you got to be in time. And it's the same being in a band. You can't decide to do whatever you want with the tempo. You've got a drummer that's going to probably throw something at you if you do that. But there's a way to stay in the pocket and in time and stretch time in a sense. You know what I mean? Because that's what phrasing is, and that's what style is. That's what artistry is. So yeah, it drives me nuts as a teacher when they're not in time, but that's different than
right
making music. So that's one of my favorite things to work on with them.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And that makes so much sense now that we know you so well. It makes so much sense because we know how you play and how you approach your style. It's very, very cool. And I do not want to forget, and I brought it with me. Today. But Heidi, you have one of these waiting. Our good friend Woody Butler made. Yeah. He wrote some poetry. We were just in Arkansas 2 weeks ago now, or 3 weeks ago now, depending on how you slap. He pretty much wrote a poem. It seems a day. So he made every one of us a beautiful folder of all his works, and he just basically took us on tour in poetry. It's so beautiful, and so I have one of these for you, which I will bring to you next month.
Yay!
Yeah, it's just
that's so amazing.
Yeah, we'll get to it again. We're so lucky that we have just met the greatest bunch of people. I love our WhatsApp group. I just love. I don't get on it as much as I should, but I just love that all these people are staying in touch. All these people are friends. All these people are meeting up. All these people are planning to come again. In the 24 this year, come with us. It's so heartwarming to see. And he thanks Woody thanks us. And it looks like on every page for putting this together and to have just. He and Phyllis are easily some of our favorite people. So anyway, I can't wait to show you that. I can't wait to give you that. And Woody and Jim Doyle, all the Arkansas crew were just, when's she coming back? When's she coming back? So anyway, I had to get that in there.
Thank you.
And so that reminded me too when you were telling how you teach and how you obviously love what you do. He, everybody. But he wrote that on there. He just loved how you played and all that stuff. So I wanted to put that today on our Thin Slap Day. So
thank you.
Yeah, I love the crossover of all the friendships. Like Heidi, you were saying before we got on about my friend Tammy. I mean, I grew up with her. We were kids, and now you guys are friends. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like it's amazing how it just does this, I don't even think lucky is a strong enough word. I'm like, man, it's got to be something bigger than that. It's like, it's really just a family, for a lack of a better word. They just come together. It's really cool. It's really neat.
It is fun being on stage and watching, somebody like Larry, who we've known for, several years, meeting somebody that he's never met, from Austin or Dallas or somebody who happens to be at the same place. Like, oh, look at that. They're meeting. This is so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I had the same thought at the show. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Patrick, did you, I know we touched on, you didn't listen to Thin Lizzy until later when you got a little older. Was that when you were in your teens when you finally started appreciating them?
Yeah.
Like in high school? Yeah. Did you have a friend who kind of like, hey, you should listen to this song, man? Was there somebody who like turned you on to them and turned the key for you?
No, we all had so the guys that I hung around with, we all had our own. Somebody would bring different. We would all try to bring new stuff to the table. We'd all try to. Hey, I heard this band from America. They're this, or I heard this German band, or this, and you try to bring stuff to it. But it's one of those things that when you see it or when you feel it. Like Heidi says, when your taste advances, and that's the only way I can describe it for me. It was I wanted to get out of the doom and gloom and kind of just have a look at, you can deliver that power with still having a little bit more subject matter, a little bit more heart in the song, not the band, and having more, you just having these songs develop versus coming in and punching you, knocking you out. Having these songs build and it's still how I write. It's amazing. I cannot for the life of me stop writing these. So if I write a, I mean, of course that's a very Maiden-esque pattern, but I can't put those. I'll put those hits in every time I write. And I try to take them out to make it more to where I think is more palatable. But then I was like, fuck it, it's what I like. So it's how I write, and it's a Iron Maiden, Thin Lizzy style that I've never been able to shake. I've always, even when I write a slow song, when I write, that reggae thing that we were working on the last time, that's it's always got those little hits in there. That's a Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden thing,
So what do you remember? Was there maybe a song that you heard when you were in high school, maybe from them, where you're like, oh, hey, that's now I get it, or
Yeah, it was around the time of Jailbreak, when they seemed to catch fire, and I hate to say it, but back in those days too, it was the shedding of the flared jeans, the bell bottom jeans, and the hippie long hair, versus into that style of leather, a wristband, and they became cool for that time. That area of style in that era of metal machismo, that all that shit just seemed to just land at the same time. I was like, all right, then you go back and you listen, you go, oh, okay, so
yeah, that would have been, you would have been like 10, I think, when that album came out. Jailbreak was like 77, I think, or 78.
Well, I'm 21 now, so carry the one. I was yeah. I wasn't born yet. Shut up.
No, that's not. I think it's cool that you were listening to that kind of music when you were, that young,
Yeah. I mean, again, and it's so funny because I remember as clear as day. I remember family members, just peers, people saying, "Yeah, man, that's a phase. You're going to be out of it in no time." I was like, God, wow. And the shit I listen to today is even worse. Is even heavier. Is even so. There you go.
I think I know the answer to this already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Maiden or Thin Lizzy? You have to pick one.
I'd have to. I always have to go with Iron Maiden because that's where my
like your foundation.
That I mean, again, that was kind of the basis for lyrically. You take Thin Lizzy every day, hands down, no question, forever and ever.
Yes.
However, Iron Maiden went in so many different directions, and they were on their shoulders, they lifted the genre globally. Thin Lizzy should have. Now, this is debatable, but I believe this. When Bob Geldof from Dunleary, County Dublin, Ireland, Boomtown Rats, when he put together Live Aid, he should have put fucking Phil Lynott, excuse me, scratch, one demerit, $5. Phil Lynott, but he should have put Phil Lynott and Thin Lizzy on that fucking bill. And I think that the world would be different today. I swear to God, I believe that wholeheartedly. Sorry, Turbo, that was a 40-minute answer to a fucking 1 second question.
No,
but
you're absolutely right. Because quick side note, when I met you, I didn't know, I'd heard the name, but Thin Lizzy, but I think that's unfortunately true with a lot of Americans, that we didn't really know much of them besides Boys Are Back in Town and maybe Jailbreak, if you're old enough to remember when that came out. I had never heard that song before. I knew Boys Are Back in Town. That's it. But I didn't really connect the two. I didn't know they were Irish. To me, they were just another one of those bands that I didn't have any interest in, like Molly Hatchet or 38 Special. I was just like, I don't know. So yeah, if they'd done Live Aid right at that time when our generation was in high school, that would have been huge.
All right. So on that note, take Live and Dangerous. That's a touchy subject with fans and with historians and blah blah blah. That Philo heard about, or he heard Frampton's Comes Alive album, and he said, "Man, we could do that," and they fucking did. And all that aside, all the stuff that comes with that, because a lot of people said that there were so many overdubs and blah 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 blah. End of story. Take that record. Take that. Any portion of that record and put that on the Live Aid stage, and there wasn't a fucking band that could follow. I mean, Queen, yes, you never ever discount Queen, but Thin Lizzy on that fucking stage today, I believe Philo would be alive, and I believe that Thin Lizzy would be would be on par with Queen, and I'm not a Journey fan, but that level of rock royalty, Thin Lizzy. Just look at the guitar players. Just look at musicians throughout time. Look at how many people credit Phil, Huey Lewis, John Sykes, all these people, all these massive bands owe Phil so much because of his guidance and his, the trail that they blazed for rock and roll is just immeasurable.
Oh yeah. So you think that opportunity or that gaining that new audience might have encouraged him or given them the strength to get clean?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Jim Fitzpatrick, the artist that on Heidi's shirt, Jim Fitzpatrick that did the all that beautiful artwork for Thin Lizzy, he says that Philo thought that he was invincible and he thought that he had a hold. And I believe that. I believe him when he says that. However, I do believe that Thin Lizzy, Phil's solo stuff was tremendous as well. Of course, I'm not going to say a bad word about him because I can't. But he said that Philo thought that he was immortal and that he could handle everything. And most addicts believe that. I don't know a lot of them that, and Phil had beautiful daughters, and he loved his Thin Lizzy family and blah blah blah. But I wholeheartedly, we've talked about this before too. I believe that if Thin Lizzy had that leg up, I think that if Bob Geldof had put Thin Lizzy on the thing, I think Thin Lizzy would be around today. I really do.
That would have been amazing. Would you have chosen Gary Moore to have been the guitarist, or at least one of the guitarists?
Yeah.
Do you think it should have been like a 2 or 3 guitarist, like all-star lineup for that show?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, just pertaining to how I started, this episode, John Sykes and Gary Moore, that would have been just game over. I don't know how they would get along. Chemistry wise, I don't know how they would get along. I don't know if they even knew each other. If they, but John Sykes
So
is one of these.
Scott Gorham. Sorry,
Scott Gorham, what?
Sorry, go ahead. Finish that. Scott Gorham takes a break for that show.
No, you can't. No, you can't. I mean, Scott Gorham lived Thin Lizzy, and just like John Sykes. John Sykes and Scott Gorham, I think, were the two biggest. And this is debatable, but in my opinion, Scott Gorham and John Sykes were the biggest. And Brian Downey, let me just say, with Brian Downey on drums, I mean, he's not only was he supposed to be in that fucking band, Brian Downey is Thin Lizzy as much as Phil is Thin Lizzy in my estimation. So I'm just going to leave that there. Brian Downey is always Thin Lizzy, because I don't believe with any other drummer that Thin Lizzy would have been as good as they are. End of story. So getting lost here. So I think that John Sykes and Scott Gorham gave the most as far as their commitment to the band and their love of Thin Lizzy and their respect for Philo and Brian Downey. I think that they have the most, and John Sykes was with Thin Lizzy, the shortest amount of fuck Snowy White. God, Snowy, good player. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but my God, talk about a fucking wart on a fucking camel's ass, man. Just useless in Thin Lizzy. Fucking awful. I just look it up. Get a. This is my favorite piece. And look up Snowy White playing Black Rose by Thin Lizzy, and it's not even the same song. It's not even. It's Every Rose Has Its Thorn by fucking. It's awful. It's so bad. And anyway, so I digress. But those guys put more into and they took more of Phil with them throughout their careers, and to this day will say that every note that they play is in praise of Philo. So,
how did they get their name?
Good question. So they came from a comic book. It was TIN. Yeah. There was a comic book. It was I think a robot. Thin Lizzy, TIN. And if you're from Dublin, Thin Lizzy is still Thin Lizzy. So it came from there.
Uh-huh.
Not a great name, but
it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, can anybody
I
think of a
what
better?
You know about the band? I'm just like watching, I'm like watching this TV show right now. I'm like, I can't even think. Like, I just love how you're so into it.
But again, your music tastes are so much different because of where you were raised and your age. You weren't around. You weren't open. You were in the right spot for it. Had you been at the 100 years or 60 years old now, 50 years old. No, really. I mean, if you were that, if you were you would have been in the right spot. The amount of people that I meet that saw Thin Lizzy open for Queen in America or open for Journey or, I mean, these bands that came on and they just, to this day, they're going, yeah, that was a better fucking, better show than the headliner, and of course, it's all relative. It's all taste and so on and so forth. But the people that love Thin Lizzy will fight you to the fucking death, to get across how important Thin Lizzy are to rock and roll and the fabric of rock and roll,
I love when you're wearing the shirt and we're out and about, and then somebody will see your shirt and they're like, and you're like, it's almost like you don't even say a word to each other. You just give the nod and the point. You're like, got you.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I love it.
What's funny is I had this shirt on at a basketball tournament, sometime in the fall, September, October. And one of the basketball dads said, "You don't see anyone wearing a Thin Lizzy shirt." He goes, "I love Thin Lizzy." I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "Yeah, well, the band I play for is really into this." And he's like, "I thought you played in an Irish band." I'm like, "Right, an Irish rock band." He's like, "You guys play that stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, yeah, along those lines." And they came to Good Time Charlie's.
Oh, good.
A whole group. So I mean, yeah, it's somebody connects seeing something like this, and then they're like, oh yeah, I'll come check out your band. I thought it was an Irish band. I'm like, yeah, it is.
You Irish
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
It is an Irish band. Come see us. So they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just never know.
Heidi, when you were growing up, do you remember? Because you and I are fairly close in age, or well, closer than Turbo and I are anyway. Do you remember ever hearing Thin Lizzy when you were growing up?
Yes, but see, I was born 74. By the way, 49 is not grandma age. That's me.
Yeah.
But
Not yet.
this grandma could kick your ass. No, I'm just kidding. But Tin Lizzy, yeah. So it wasn't until later. I mean, when high school, junior high-ish, that I was like, when I could get away with listening to anything other than Elvis in my own house, right? So I wasn't aware until later, but I would have loved to have seen Tin Lizzy and Queen in concert. Now, my parents never would have taken me to a concert. Nope, would have been forbidden. But I would have snuck out to go to to that concert.
Cool.
Yeah. Any songs that jump out? Any songs that you, Thin Lizzy? Any songs that you just can't live without?
Well, I like the Black Rose song. I do. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, that easily one of my top. Well, I can't even say top 10, but I mean, as far as Thin Lizzy goes, yeah, it's up there. It's way, way, way up there. And again, going back to just to start everybody off too. I mean, going way back. So Shades of a Blue Orphanage. When I kind of went back and tried to start to see where they came from and see how. I love as a writer as well as a songwriter. I love seeing early stuff versus the end, versus the Thunder and Lightning record when you're listening to Cold Sweat, and the song Thunder and Lightning, those kind of songs versus way, way, way back in the beginning. Like if you listen to Shades of a Blue Orphanage, the record, there's that real Elvis inspired vocal. The it's just it's 1970s version of Elvis's 50s. I don't want to forget how to jive track. It's just this very kind of rockabilly, but kind of hippie flavored piece, and it was such a mind bending experience listening to that, knowing what they were going to do, because obviously I had been listening to their current stuff at the time, but that's to me was like seeing cavemen's etchings on the wall, of a cave, just the side of a mountain somewhere. It was, but then when the smoke clears and you see their, what they were doing back there. I mean, they were already far beyond that, that era. To me anyway. I mean, that's maybe I was reading too much into it, but their focus on time and their focus on a groove and how to structure a song is just amazing to me.
Yeah, they always have that little or more than a little hint of the psychedelic music.
Yes.
Like it never really leaves. And I think that is why they were so good, because it wasn't just psychedelic. They had the blues and the Irish and the heavy, like the real tough rock, this tough street rock sound. Once Pink Floyd came out with their overly psychedelic, I could never get into Pink Floyd because of my addiction to Tin Lizzy. That for me, I just couldn't quite go that far. It didn't have enough for me after all the Tin Lizzy. And I know there's awesomeness to Pink Floyd. Ryan is still trying to convince me that I should like them, but I can't. Tin Lizzy, I just can't. I can't. It doesn't have enough for me to grab onto, I guess. Anyway,
they're very, very different bands. Yeah,
but
they are.
Go ahead.
So I have kind of a different approach with it. Since I came in, boss, I was just thinking about this while you're talking today. Is you listen to, Thin Lizzy first, and then you hear the bands that branch off, right? Kind of come after, right? They tread the way, like you said, they settle it, and then somebody else comes behind. And I listen to the bands that came behind, and then, going back. And so when I listen to these songs, I'm like, oh, this sounds like this band. This sounds like this band.
Right.
Like I'll listen to like Killer on the Loose, and I go, that kind of has a Ramones feel to it. The way that the guitar is kind of chugging along. And I find myself doing that. I'm like, well, wait a minute, this was first, and I'm like, you kind of go, I find myself doing that all the time, so that's a song I've been listening to a lot. I like the song Warrior on the Jailbreak album. I think if you had to put a definition of hard rock, that should be the song. It's not blues.
That's a great
It's
piece.
not metal. It's hard rock. That's it. It kind of has that Emerald intro, still that little bit of the hi-hat kind of shuffling. I do have a question on that record. I do think they dubbed in the hi-hat accent in the intro, though. I think there's 2 drums in there because you can kind of hear the rolling of the hi-hat underneath it. So I would love to know if they did that on that record. I would love to find that out. But it sounds as if they did. Yeah. But anyway, that's just a side thing. I wasn't even going to bring it up.
That's very cool.
I had it cranked, and I'm like, I feel like I can hear. I don't know if it's me just hearing it, but it sounds as if the hi-hats, the rolling hi-hats underneath the accent. And so makes me wonder if they
like it was an afterthought. Because clearly he could play it because you see live footage of him doing it.
Well, yeah, he does it all the time.
Yeah,
but I just was wondering if they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
You've got a good ear for that.
He was playing it, but it just sounded as if they had it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I like the rocker too. I like the guitar solo in that.
Yeah.
Fuck yes. That's always on my list. I can't get over it. God, so good.
Yeah, it's kind of the same melody. I think they kind of phase it. They do like a phaser at the end of that one, right? Or they kind of change it.
Yeah, Eric Bell, he's kind of just running the gamut of all the different tones and effects and approaches he had. And it's really, I found we've talked about this song many times on the show. There's a really good video out there of a kid playing the solo pretty much note for note and showing you where, exactly where it is on the fret. And it's not like Eddie Van Halen, like, whoop, wah, he's not like all over the neck. It's actually pretty economical where the finger positionings are. He'll start on one fret, he'll groove around there, then he'll move up to the next one and groove around there until it gets to the end where he's like, when it does that gets a little more flashy. But a lot of it is very just blues riffs, but just very expertly placed. And the brilliant thing about Eric is that he probably never played the solo that way again. It was that was that take, and it was just a piece of just a piece of genius. I think it was a work of genius.
Yeah. Going back to the beginning when Eric Bell joined Thin Lizzy, and he, I don't know if he drew a sober breath in the whole time they were together. I mean, he was just a pot smoking, drinking. The culture was, you meet in the pub, you go do the gig, or you're at the pub, and then you finish up at the pub. But he loved to smoke hash, But to this day, Eric Bell is still, his chops are not what they were. However, he's gone on a few years, but his storytelling and his memory and his ability to captivate you and take you on that journey is second to none. If you can watch some interviews, I highly recommend it. Highly being the operative word there, but he is such a poet in his, but that solo to me is Eric Bell in a nutshell. He's easygoing, he's free flowing, but he's also deep as, he's not one of these, and I don't have a great example off the top of my head, but one of these kind of poser rockers that, has not really much to say, but takes up all the air in the room. It's such a deep dive into history when you hear Eric Bell's take on Thin Lizzy early days. It's just tremendous. I recommend you go listen to that stuff. If you like music, especially if you like rock, I mean, this is the blueprint for easily one of the greatest bands of all time.
Yeah. One of my favorite interviews is where he's telling the story about when he quit the band, where he literally just walked off stage in the middle of the show.
Threw the guitar down, yeah.
Yeah. He just had enough. And he tells the story. He's like, yeah, well, it's like he knows that it was a shitty thing to do, but it was like that's just the way it was. And that the interviewer asked him, so how did Phil react to that? He said, oh, they were both Brian and Phil were just standing there agape, like, what the hell, as you would expect.
Yeah.
Well,
why did he do that?
Well, that's the reason why he did it was he was just they were starting to become famous, and he realized that people were starting to ask about what he was wearing, what he was playing, why they were, and the pressure got so much. So, and remember too, if you're into smoking weed, if you're into, if you're high all the time, you get fucking paranoid, and you get, the pressure becomes so much, and that's what happened to him. And he said it just came to a peak at that moment on stage, and he just threw the guitar and just, so his, he had to kind of re-enter rock and roll at a later time when he was able to, because it really is, we talk about it. I think about it practically every day. Is I cannot drink, I can't smoke weed, I can't do hard drugs, because I'm really fucking good at it. And if I do that, my that it overtakes everything that I have, all my capacity to function as a human, because I'll put everything into that. Now, drinking, smoking, that kind of stuff. I could smoke today if they would say it was good for you, or if they'd say it wouldn't, fuck up my brain. I know it's just it's such a horrible fucking addiction. But all that said, when you can't control your environment and you can't control what you put in your head, that it's a kiss of death to be in a rock and roll band, I think.
Yeah.
So Heidi, speaking about drugs, are you okay?
I'm good.
Cut.
I'm recovering.
Yeah, you looks like it. I'm just really happy. And seriously, and I mean this. I'm just really happy that that my name wasn't on the Jeffrey Epstein list. I'm so relieved.
Or the Cat Williams list.
No, my name's on there. My name's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that going off right now?
Yes.
Oh man, that YouTube channel got 10 million views in one day.
Is he wrong? Is he wrong? Call it. Call it right now. Everybody, call it. Is he wrong?
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I don't know, man. I just, I mean, obviously we don't know either way, but.
Well, I don't know if any of us are conspiracy theorists. However, Dave Chappelle and Cat Williams have these theories of these other comedians in their field, right? These world famous comedians, and they have these theories of why and how they got to where they are. And I'm not, like I say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. However, I'm a Cat Williams fan. Am I a Kevin Hart fan? No.
Oh, yeah.
Am I a Dave Chappelle fan? Yes. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's up to you who you like and who you don't. But they strongly believe, strong enough to go on fucking, national television and say it, that these guys became household names because of who they basically bowed to, who they, So it's interesting. I think Cat Williams I think his comedy is fucking genius. I think Dave Chappelle is genius. Yeah. I think I've only seen clips of Kevin Hart. I've never laughed. But again, that's just me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, remember too, Cat Williams is also, he's his own product. So he's selling as well, and he's saying things, and it's hard when somebody's a professional performer, when they're on a platform performing, are they performing or so it's like you got to kind of cipher through all that. But boy, was it interesting. I listened to it, and it's some pretty gnarly stuff on there. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. I think my favorite is Shannon Sharp's reaction. He looks over like, oh God. It was great.
I haven't watched it yet. I saw it popping up on YouTube yesterday, but I didn't actually go and watch the clip.
Yeah.
So I'll have to catch up with it.
It's interesting. Maybe you out in Slapperland would like to comment below and tell us what you think. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a conspiracy theorist. However, I would take the side of a Cat Williams or a Dave Chappelle, not because of my. It's not disdain. It's just it's not my taste. The Kevin Hart stuff is not my taste. And there's so many brilliant comedians out there, but I would be really curious to say, well, so many questions, but out there in Slapperland, I would love to hear your favorite Thin Lizzy songs, if you're even familiar with their stuff, and if you'd be willing to go and check it out and let us know what you think. But I'd also love to know, I think we'd love to know too, what your thoughts are on this controversy, if you will, this Cat Williams. I know I gotta slow down. So
That's so good.
But I'm thoroughly. I can't scratch that from the record, Your Honor. I am not going to follow this as I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to go on YouTube and look for clips and stuff. I'm just curious with all this stuff coming out. There's a lot of distraction right now. This Jeffrey Epstein list coming out and the unveiling of predators and blah 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 blah. You'll get what you're fucking. Your time's coming. You can't fucking hide. I've said it my whole fucking life. If you steal, what you steal will not stay with you. Will not. If you rob a fucking song, or if you put a fucking ambient shit fucking record on another person's fucking Spotify. You're going fucking down. It's just end of story. I don't believe for a second that you get to hold what you steal. I don't believe it, and I don't know if it's karma, and I don't know if it's just how shit works, but it won't stay with you. Write your own fucking material, do your own fucking, make your own path, but it's infuriating that people can get even one step with stolen goods. It's just fucking, anyway.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Yeah, by the way, what Patrick was just referring to, if you were paying attention to our Facebook page on January 5th of this year, there was Tara found it. Patrick's daughter Tara found it and sent it to him, and he sent it to me. There was an album on our Spotify profile. It said it was Blaggards, and it was an album called Satellite that had this anime picture on it. This cute, it looked like something for kids, and the music, which I listened to a little bit of it, would sound like it was AI generated, atmospheric,
shit,
just crap. Yeah. And so it was like, was it hacked? So Patrick asked me to look into it, and no, we weren't hacked, but Spotify did fuck up majorly. And apparently this is something that happens on Spotify all the time. Mm-hmm. But this was apparently some kind of coordinated, as the Dreadnoughts put it, which I'll explain in a second. It wasn't just us. That's because I posted that because somebody messaged right when Patrick and I were talking about it. Somebody messaged us on Facebook saying, with a screenshot of that album, saying, "What the hell is this?" So I said, "I better post about this." So I did, explaining it's not us, as if that wasn't already patently obvious. But then our friends the Kilmaine Saints came and commented on that. Said, "You too?" So I went and looked. It was the same thing. This made up thing, atmospheric AI generated crap, most likely. But it didn't end there. There was the Dreadnoughts. There was Blood or Whiskey. There was the Mahones, the Killigans. They all got hit with this hoax, or whatever you want to call it, some kind of coordinated. The Dreadnoughts called it a coordinated attack. They thought it was hilarious. So, yeah, it shouldn't even be possible. But I think I don't know what the whole point of this was, or if it was just Celtic rock bands, or this was something that happened because somebody targeted a playlist. That was somebody else's. Somebody mentioned that it could have been why it wound up being all these same bands who are in, more or less the same genre, if you will.
Well, really.
But I found, I mean, a couple of them I found not because they're posted, but because I was just on Spotify. It's like, because you say fans also listen to this, and I would click on one of those, and there was really obvious there was another fake album on there, new release, and they all came out on the same day, December 31st. So, yeah, it shouldn't even be possible. There's no reason why you can't program your stuff carefully enough that you know, I don't understand Spotify. I just don't understand how that happens, because it didn't happen on Apple Music, didn't happen anywhere else.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah, I think it's my nephew had called and said that he believes that there was a big layoff at Spotify, so somebody's fucking with them. But
really?
Yeah, end of the year stuff.
go.
That was it. Yeah, he was surmising that people were. This is a revenge thing, but I don't know why they would take the, you know, take that. Why wouldn't you move into the Springsteen? You know, the top of the catalog.
They may have that. That may have just been the tip of the iceberg that I could see, because those are the bands that are linked to our profile because of the people listening to the same kind of stuff. It could have been could have been everywhere. I don't know. Haven't heard, but that's just our little, our little circle. But yeah, you're probably right. That does sound. I mean, it was definitely intentional, whatever it was, because all the same day. Anyway.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just everybody broaden your horizons. Go listen to some atmospheric AI shit.
Yeah.
So
open your mind.
Yes. But yeah, so the tangent city today, huh? We have definitely run the gamut as far as this goes. But I would say that the calendar, Blaggards 24 calendar, is going to look quite spectacular here in a few weeks. Yeah, we are going to have. Let me approach the calendar here, my fine friends. This is going to be. Yeah, so we're going to be on our way to Florida. We're going to go down to Punta Gorda for the weekend, and we're going to do the anniversary show down there at Celtic Ray. We're going to go down there and we're going to have a little fun. And Heidi, you're going to stay here and you're going to teach kids how to fucking rock and roll, right?
Yep.
And then end of next month, we're going to head out your way again. We're going to be back to see you, and that's going to be Turbo and I are going to get together after this. We're going to look at the calendar. We're going to make sure the van points in the right direction before and after these shows. But we are going to be coming back out again. So Phoenix, California, start your engines. Here we come.
Yep.
And there was another thing too. Yes. So why don't we do this? Why don't we let these fine folks go back to those days? Because I know everybody's just stuck to your screens. How can you even take a breath while Slapper Day? Yeah, look at that. That's how you do it. So this is 2024. We've got so much in store for you this year, and I'm gonna say it right now. This is we're still in January. We're gonna have a record this year. We're gonna have a record this year. I guarantee it. I'm telling you that right now. You ready? You ready? SJC?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So why don't we put a bow on this motherfucker and send it out? We ready to go?
All right.
Okay.
Yep. All right. We'll see you next week, y'all.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for telling your friends. Thank you for putting a comment down there and just hitting the like button. I hate even saying that, but it's this is how this shit gets pushed out. So if you could give us a hand doing that, and then I really would love to hear. If you even follow the Cat Williams thing, let me know if you let us know if you believe this thing, if you're not, because this is going to come out and this is going to be resolved. And then also, more importantly, I'd love to know your thoughts on the Thin Lizzy stuff, your favorite Thin Lizzy song, if you've even listened to them, if you've now, gone and listened or, watched some live footage. I would, if you're new to Thin Lizzy, I would just start with Live and Dangerous. I would just start with that record because it's a double live album and it gives you everything from the ballads to the hard rock but it kind of if you're into the hard rock genre, I would gently nudge you towards Live and Dangerous or Life Live. just only because that gives you that'll tell you if you're going to be a fellow fan. Anybody else have a recommendation? Right. Where would you start?
Nightlife.
Thin Lizzy. Nightlife. Oh, good one. Turbo.
And Black.
Yeah.
I think if they're younger, they should start with Jailbreak. That's what I think. And work your way back.
Can't hurt.
I think the Black Rose album is a good place for the uninitiated to start, because it's Jailbreak is great. I think Black Rose is much better mixed. It's a much better sounding record just sonically, because Tony Visconti was at the helm at that point. I don't know what happened with Jailbreak. That album, you can't hear the bass on it, and it's just not mixed very well, frankly. But Tony came in for the next two albums and fixed that. But yeah, I think Black Rose is a really good introduction, particularly Do Anything You Want To, which is a lead song on that record, is one of my favorites. I love that. It's a little more poppy than most of their stuff, but it's so brilliant, and it's really uplifting too. Have you ever seen the video for that? I just saw it last night. I'd never seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
It's really funny. They're all playing timpani to the intro of the song, and it's the gist of the song. This is a really long ending of the show. Phil is saying, you can do anything you want to do, like I do. It's true. Everything's possible. But the song, the video kind of shows that it's a little bit tongue in cheek, because as he's saying that, at one point he's behind jail bars, going, "I do anything I want, and now I'm in jail."
On that album is My Sarah, and that's a good one.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, you're not going to go wrong. We're not going to steer you. We're not going to send you to a fucking Motley Crue catalog. We're doing you a favor. By and again, with all respect to the people that already listen to Thin Lizzy and know the wonder of this phenomenon, but you can't go wrong. You can start at the very beginning and hear the hippie stuff and just go all the way to Thunder and Lightning and John Sykes era and just have your mind blown. But I'm just curious, because Thin Lizzy is such a integral part of the rock and roll map, the rock and roll creation. People will say all the riffs have been written, all the songs have been written, everything's just now regurgitation. I don't believe that, but it's true. It's really hard to come across brand new music. But when you listen to Thin Lizzy, it takes you to, I think, to when hard rock was, being formed, so
forged. Yeah. Absolutely.
So anyway, we've definitely taken a lot of your time. I truly appreciate every single one of you for listening and commenting and doing all that stuff and doing. So just can't wait to see you out there. And Heidi, it's been way too fucking long, so can't wait to see you. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, y'all. Thanks. See you next time.
Cheers.